Hi everyone, the recording just started, so welcome to UAAC. This is the first meeting of the fall 2022 semester, and we'll be meeting weekly after this. So every Thursday, 11:30 to 1:30. I'm calling to order the meeting at 11:55 a.m. Territorial acknowledgement. I should open the agenda here. So thank you. So we respectfully acknowledge that the SFSS is located on the traditional unceded territories of the Coast Salish peoples, including the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh, Pukut-Lam and Katsi nations. Unceded means that these territories have never been handed over, sold, or given up by these nations, and we are currently situated on occupied territories. All right, so we're going to go into our roll call of attendance. So we'll start with myself. Hello, my name is Nikki or Nicole Kerrigan. I'm your Vice President, University and Academic Affairs, and I'm the Chair of the University and Academic Affairs for the 2022-2023 fiscal year. So now we're going to go into acting, oh my God, they put the wrong one, acting VP Equity. They use external and community affairs. So we're going to acting VP Equity, sorry, here. I will put out the camera to Arthur.
Hello, everyone. My name is Arthur, pronoun he, him, and my acting Matt here. And yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. All right, so then we'll be going on to are you okay, Arthur? Sorry. So we're going onto our communications counselor next. Alan, you can introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Alan Ripke, pronouns he, him. All my access needs are met, apart from I do not have a copy of the agenda. I cannot seem to find it.
All right, I will send it, or Arthur, you'll help send that.
I will send that to you. Give me a second. I'm gonna log into the room and then I will give you the agenda. Okay, give me a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good. So I think I can, let me do this here. I can also do it too.
I got it.
Are you sure?
I got it.
All right, great. Thank you. It should be on the email as well, but maybe the email list needs to be updated so I can check that. Thank you, Alan, for being here. Our health sciences counselor, Priyanka, you can introduce yourself now.
Hi everyone, my name is Priyanka. My pronouns are she, her, hers. My access needs are met today, but I'm feeling a bit under the weather today, so I'm probably just gonna keep my camera off for majority. But if I'm feeling better later on, I'll turn it on.
Thank you for being here, and no problem. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people are getting sick now too, and including myself, so totally empathize with that. Thank you for making time to be here. The other people who are not here, we have one of our other members, which is the actual VP External and Community Affairs, Ishana Baran, which I'll be ratifying her regrets, and then also Gurmahar Singh, which is our elected student at large. So yeah, and then we'll be going on to our society staff now. So campaigns and mobilization coordinator, Muriel, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, my name is Muriel. The campaigns and mobilization coordinator. All my access needs are met, except that I'm going to keep my camera off because I'm running up some activities prior to the debate this afternoon.
That makes sense. Yeah, thank you so much, Muriel, for making time to be here. And good luck at the debates. I'll be going there later to help out. It's exciting to have the Burnaby City Councilor debates. So Arthur just posted the agenda in the chat. I believe the agenda has been updated correctly with the correct names. So I think I was just reading the older version of it. So thank you, everyone. Now we'll be going on to Fanny, our administrative assistant. So feel free to introduce yourself. Thank you for being here. I see that Fanny wrote in the chat, my name is Fanny, she, her, and all my access needs are met. Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate that. So let me open up the new version of the agenda because I was reading the old one. Oh, thank you, Arthur. That's perfect. I should do that. All right. So we'll be moving on to the consent agenda. And I believe for this one, we can add in new agenda items, which I will be adding some of them.
You have
But-
you have the first and second, the first.
Yeah, we have the first and second that. So I'm just seeing what we need to do. So we need to ratify the regrets. And we'll first, I think we ratify regrets after.
You're
add it
gonna
to
have to
agenda.
do first and second first and about by regret.
Sounds perfect. All right, you may not add items under consent agenda. All right, so we'll need to, it'll be under adoption of the agenda, right? So consent agenda, so be it resolved. Thank you, Fanny, for helping out with that. So consent agenda, so we're on item 4 of the agenda. So be it resolved to adopt the consent agenda by unanimous consent. I'll look for a person to move this.
Yeah, you're right. You can't add anything, but
Oh, it's unanimous consent. We don't need a mover or a seconder, just people,
yeah, but do you have any minutes that you need to get filed?
not this time.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Making sure.
So if anyone has any dissent to this, please use the raise hand function on Zoom. And I will record your dissent to the consent agenda, which is you just need to react with reactions. If you don't know how to do it, just indicate in the chat. But seeing that there's no dissent, we will move on to, I believe, this will be 4.1.1 because we're not ratifying any receiving and filing any minutes. So ratification of regrets. So be it resolved to ratify the regrets of Ishana Baran, the VP External and Community Affairs, for this meeting due to having a meeting with Helen right now. And then also the other person will be ratifying the regrets is for Gurmahar Singh. So I need a mover for this. So I'll move it. And can I get a seconder?
Second.
Okay, Arthur seconds the ratification of regrets. So seeing, is there any dissent to this? If not, we'll move on. All right. I think there's no dissent to this, so we'll move on. Thank you, everyone. So adoption of the agenda. Now we're on number 5.
Yeah, that number 5 and adoption agenda, you need a first and second.
Yeah.
And then you can put item on it.
Yeah, because it says mover and seconder. So I will move the adoption of the agenda. So to be it resolved to adopt the agenda as presented, then you can list to add things. So I need a seconder for this.
I'll second.
Okay, Arthur seconds the adoption of the agenda. Okay, so I will list for myself. All right, so I want to add a discussion item. So let's see what we have. So we have 3 items under discussion items under item 11 total. So this will be a new 11.4. And I will title this debrief after last council meeting. And that will be, it'll be a discussion on the events of the past council meeting yesterday and student reception and where we maybe should move from that. I have some suggestions. I want to seek some consensus in the committee. So I move to add that. So it's 11.4. So for Fanny, I'll say debrief, brief and discussion post council meeting. I'll just say and student outreach and perception. Okay, there. So I'm going to move to add that. I need a seconder to add that. So would anyone like to second? Maybe somebody other than Arthur can second this time.
Yeah,
Oh,
communication.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. That's good. Okay, we can give turns to first thing and moving and seconding. So I'll give that to communications to second. So the mover is myself and seconder Alan for that. So any discussion on adding that discussion item or any dissent? If not, we will say that it's added and then move on from this. So I don't think I have anything else to add right now. Unless anyone else has anything, then they can list. But today the agenda is very much so.
It's still pretty.
Yeah, so I'm not going to add too much. Oh, okay. Alan, yes, you listed. Go for it.
Yeah, just asking, this is in reference to last meeting and the outreach, so I guess you were doing?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Correct.
sounds good.
Okay, yeah, thanks for clarifying that. Okay, so I think that should be good. Anyone has any other things. If not, I think that's good. And if you want to add, later on, it'll be more difficult to add it. So we'd probably do it for next week. So yeah, I guess we'll move on from this, but last call if anyone wants to add anything. Yeah, okay, we move on. So I'll start my presentation. Okay, so this is the thing that I was really preparing for this morning, and I'm really happy to present. Was just going to present on originally the issue that I'm working on right now, which is labor exploitation and predatory employers on campus and the recent incident that happened with that. So I'll start with that topic, and then later on we can move on to the other thing that I'm going to touch on. But this is a really important issue that has just transpired that the student community is really interested in and cares a lot about. And I think as the SFSS, you know, we have a job here to advocate for students and ensure that their interests are met. And I really want to make sure that we are doing that. And starting with this presentation, I think that I can give some good background to the present members about what has happened and what is happening and what students have said and really where to go from here. So I'm going to share my screen. I just have a very simple document because I find that's easier. I was thinking about possibly doing a PowerPoint presentation, but I don't think there's a need. So let me share my screen here. It'll be Google Chrome. And let me know if you can, when you can see my screen. So can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen? Okay, Arthur, you're here. Wait, but you're on the Zoom as well. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, Arthur gave me a physical thumbs up, but I was like, you're just right next to me. So, okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to start with this. I think this is a really important topic. I'm really honored to actually bring it forward. And I'm going to try to be as brief as possible with this, but give the important information that you guys have to know. So I did a lot of outreach in the past 2 weeks, but specifically, I think this last thing happened October 4th. So it's about like actually a week ago. So last week. And since Tuesday, October 4th, like I really amped up like the level of like outreach that I'm doing because I feel like this is a timely incident. The students have been showing that they care about, and usually I find that like momentum is really good for getting students to care about things and to work towards advocacy. So I really made sure to put my time and effort into this, over 20 hours this week so far. So great. But I posted on Reddit a general like question just to test the waters to see kind of like it's what people like to call in business like a proof of concept kind of thing. So it's not a perfect survey, of course, and it's nothing that's like officialized, but it's something just to see and gauge like general perception from the students. And it's something that's more low barrier and easy to do compared to like a more comprehensive type of survey that has to go through all the checks and balances and things to make sure that it's perfect. So this is just like a preliminary outreach measure. And I've also talked with students and interviewed students and done kind of like more low key, not tabling things, but more like I was in the AQ talking to people about this. So I'm going to tell you guys what I found, but I'm going to read the contents of this message here. So I posted a title, should MLMs be allowed to target students on campus? So if you don't know what MLMs are, I don't really have the time and energy to explain everything about MLMs right now, but there is a good subreddit that has a good about section that can that does have a stance against MLMs. It's called r/anti-MLM, and they are against multi-level marketing companies. But essentially the issue that people do say with multi-level marketing companies is that they are predatory in their practices, and people are generally bound to lose money when they go into this, and they're given all these promises of making a lot of money, and people that don't necessarily understand the system or understand multi-level marketing companies because they may not have it in their home country, you know, as profound as we have here, are more likely to fall victim to these types of, you know, I don't want to call them schemes because it comes from pyramid schemes, but they're more likely to fall to, victim to these potentially predatory marketing practices and business practices. So this is the concern that we're coming from, and it's especially targeted towards international students, especially in their first year, who may not understand our system very well. So it's a really poignant and like very timely issue to actually deal with, because I found out that I originally didn't think that this companies. There's one specifically, but there's many on campus that are actually MLMs that use similar practices. So the company, what happened was there's a recent incident involving the reappearance of multi-level marketing companies on campus. They were one of them was tabling in the West Mall Center on the 3rd floor, I remember, and this was on Tuesday, October 4th, and they said that they're tabling from 10:30, I believe, to 1:30 p.m. And I originally thought, like, I was like, there's no way that they would get consent from the university to do this, because it doesn't make sense. Why would the university allow multi-level marketing companies to be on campus, right? And I actually called ancillary services. So you guys probably heard of MEX, right? MEX are the people from ancillary services in the university that deal with room bookings and tabling bookings and things like that. And usually the university needs to be informed of any kind of bookings, so including tabling bookings or room bookings, right? And that's like from my experience in student leadership and all this, that if I want to book something, I have to go through MEX and ancillary services. So I actually called them, and I also asked security too, like, do you know, like, if these people have permission to be here? Because I don't necessarily want to just go up to them and say, you're not supposed to be here, like, and stuff like that, if I don't know that for sure, right? And what I was told from ancillary services and MEX from SFU side, that they have no idea about these people being here. They did not give them consent to be here. And they actually had a big concern from my conversations with them about these people being on campus, right? So SFU was as a whole, like the central services that end up managing space oversight essentially in SFU, did not know about these people being on campus. And they, from what the original conversation I had with them, they definitely expressed a concern, security expressed a concern with this, right? Especially since there are already so many student complaints about them. So what happened was I later found out that SFU BD School of Business, specifically under career services, has given them permission to be here. So that's the people we have to deal with in terms of lobbying and advocating for potentially not having them here. And I have no idea like why like the BD School of Business really allowed them to be here. There's different like theories, like students have presented, like some person says that they worked with career services and that they know that like there's a litigation issue of them being SFU being threatened to be sued for being discriminatory and not allowing MLMs to be on campus because they are quote unquote legitimate businesses. They're not illegal based on our, you know, like provincial federal legislation, right? So they don't want to incur a risk of legal liability. However, this is just conjecture, and my official meeting with SFU BD School of Business, which I set up, is happening tomorrow. So Friday, October, what date would that be? 17th, I believe, or what day is it today? Sorry. Oh, that'll be, no, sorry, 14th. So Friday, October 14th at 1:30 p.m. I am meeting with representatives from BD School of Business to talk about this, to see and have this preliminary conversation of why are these people here? What is your stance on this? You know about the issues regarding multi-level marketing companies on campus, and like, is there anything that you plan to do about this or anything that can be done about this? So I need to have that preliminary conversation with them. And I've done a lot of outreach in this past week with students. One of them is, I'm going to scroll down here. I've done like a survey, and you can see I have 8.7K total views on this, 96% upvote rate, 10 total shares on this specific survey. So this is just a proof of concept type of survey, preliminary. It's nothing huge or perfect, right? But it is there to test the waters and see where students generally feel on this. And I know that these surveys are not perfect, right, on Reddit, but right now I got a really good response. I got, it was open for 7 days. So it had total 883 votes. So respondents, 883 respondents on the survey. 856, so the vast majority of people said no, MLM should not be allowed to recruit students on campus. And only 27 people responded and said yes, MLM should be allowed to recruit students on campus. So this is already indicating that students have this feeling that they should not be allowed to recruit students on campus. And even people that may not fully understand the issues regarding MLMs, you don't really need to fully understand all of it, right? But it is evident that specifically with, I don't want to name any specific companies, but with like just this one that I had an encounter with, Work for Students / Vector Marketing. It's one of the things that I can say very explicitly and very confidently is that they advertise on their posters. So you'll see their posters all over campus. UBC actually has, the UBC Reddit has a post right now that blew up recently saying, hey, what's this poster? So they have those same posters on the SFU campuses. These people are across like almost all campuses. They're banned in BCIT actually. So I know that for sure. So some student societies have banned them already, but they're at UBC for sure. And they're also at SFU, and they're posting these posters saying that it's not, you get the hourly wage is $19.50 per hour of work, but it's not actually $19.50 per hour of work, because it's like there's an asterisk, and it's like actually per like consultations and meetings you have to sell the knives essentially to people. So you're selling knives, and you only get paid if you actually end up like having those meetings, and to be able to book those meetings, you have to put in countless hours that are unpaid. So this is, and I find that this is exploitative, because it's advertising that you will make $19.50 an hour, but essentially you need to put in hours of work in your own time to be able to do that. And you're not actually getting compensated for your labor. So, and I find, and people may not know what their labor rights are and what's typically common or like acceptable like in our society for general like your rights in terms of labor practices. And they tend to target international students in first years that don't know this. So that I think this is a big problem. And students have indicated there's a big problem, even with like surveying people and talking to people in the AQ and everything. Everyone has said that they think this is a huge problem, and that they're very upset with BD School Business for allowing this, and they want to see these people banned from campus. And I want to take this incident, and I want to also end up creating an educational opportunity for general exploitative labor practices in general, so that people can be educated on what their labor rights are. So I think that this can turn into a great project, and I'm really happy to do this, and I hope to have the support of UAAC and moving forward with this further. And I think we can do a great thing here and create a legacy and really help people in the future as well. So I have this meeting on Friday tomorrow, and I will update all of you with what happens. I plan to do another presentation next week on this. So I hope to keep everyone in tabs. And what I'm going to do too is hopefully I'll be setting up some sort of tabling, or I'll be in a common area on campus, and I'll be essentially asking students and randomly selecting students to ask them about this. So there'll be a further outreach measure. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? I didn't want to talk too much on this specific topic, but I kind of did. So thank you for listening. I think this is something that's really important and should be like interesting to people. So I hope that I was able to get across like some of the basic issues with this. But yeah, I'll be checking the chat. Yeah, Alan listed. Yeah, let me just mute myself. I'll stop share. Wait, I'll mute now. Okay, good. Go for it. Thank you.
Yeah, I would really love it. The title of this was actually directed towards BD School Business, because something like this is vague, but I think you need kind of a kick, like a controversy in this. So when talking about it, I would really market it to students as, why is SFU BD School Business allowing MOMs to like work on campus? So I would go that route just for outreach wise. I think that would be a much better take on it. And yeah, even making a second post like, after new information, the SFU BD School Business is behind this. I would totally publicize this. And also, I mean, like as great as this is, Reddit is not the best way to, as you know, to really get that out. I've known Cutco for a long time. I've known friends who got sucked down this route growing up here. They do target a lot of universities, schools. So I have like, I just copy and pasted a bunch of stuff. Like I had links before in like a doc file. So I had like just a few stuff. I can just send the link right now if you wanted to use like websites and actual stuff. But
that'd be perfect. Yeah, if you can send that and we can have further discussions on this too, because I really want to get your guys's perspectives. And Alan, I think you have really good perspectives on this. And outreach wise, we really need to plan like the best way to like reach students and appeal to students on this. And right now, I didn't want to like say BD school business, because I don't like, I have to talk to them first to like make sure that I'm not like talking, you know, like something that's not necessarily, I have to verify it, even though I'm quite sure that that's like what's happening. But I'll have this meeting with them, and then like later on we can cater our like marketing strategy and outreach strategy to what will be the best received by students as well. But yeah, thank you for sharing that document. I'm going to start like a document as well, so we can put all our ideas into there and hopefully work together on this. But I think more outreach, I know Reddit's not the best way. It's the most like accessible way, I find, like right now from what I have available to me. But I want to find better ways of doing outreach, and that's one thing that we're going to talk about as well too. But yeah, please keep that. Oh yeah, that's perfect. No, thank you so much. So is there anything else you want to say, Alan, before?
Were you looking for anyone to come with you on Friday? Because if I'm free, I would love to be there just to have another voice there. But I would be free.
Yeah, please. I would be more than happy to have you come as well. And since you have knowledge in specifically with Cutco and vector marketing, and you know about this already, it would be great to have you there. It's going to be at 1:30. I'll message you and we can meet before that.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do too is I'm going to send out a post as well to ask students if there's anything specifically that they want me to talk about with BD School Business. I'm going to try to also post it on Facebook undergrad groups as well, so that people can get back to me before that. I've also received several DMs from students giving their perspectives on this and saying like what they want me to talk about with BD as well. So
have you been reached by any students who have been a victim of it? Because it'd be amazing to bring one of them into the meeting.
Yep, I have actually I've received 4 people so far that have just like themselves like reached out to me saying that they've been a victim of this specific scam, or very close, like they said scam, but like very, very close, or like very close to doing it and very close to losing all their money. And that every single one of these students are international students. So it's like it's evident that like they're going after like this like population of vulnerable students that like, and it's not okay. Like I really see a big problem with it. And that's why I was also, I mentioned this in passing, but I said to Arthur, I want to meet with him more about this and really like try to have some sort of united front on it, because like for him as acting VP equity and sustainability, this is also something that would fall within his portfolio as well. So Arthur's right here. But like there's something we can really do with it. And since this is like a university policy, university administration issue, like I will definitely need to be like spearheading this. And I have a good like already like good outreach and good relationship with students, so I can continue doing that on that end. But like we really need to like use the momentum that we have going to like make this something really important. And it can also like I think revitalize council and give people a lot of hope that like we're focusing on something that's really important. So that's also a plan that next council meeting I'm going to present this to council as a whole. But yeah, like I want to have this preliminary meeting with BD and do a bit more outreach and present based on that. So yeah, is there anything else? And then Arthur is next. So yeah, Arthur, do you want to talk through my mic?
Yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm gonna just keep it brief here and say that I do agree with Alan that Reddit is not a good place to start on, just honestly, no, because frankly, like the internet is a lot of like there's a lot of commentary on the Reddit that we have no way to prove whether they're actually going to be going through the experience of being targeted or not being targeted. We have no way of knowing. We have no way of verifying that. But with that being said, and I think that definitely you don't want to have those people on campus where the international student going to get scammed or potentially, for the lack of a better word, to get stuck into this. It's not fair for them to have to go through that. However, I do think that the current best move we have is going through education and not going through straight up condemning, because condemnation do a lot of things, but it doesn't add on to solving the problem with like
Yeah.
stopping them coming over to campus, and then we're gonna do the rag and hole, and we're gonna continue on, and not gonna get stopped. So I think that the best approach forward for us in the community. Oh, I'm drinking. About the council in general is we need to educate people on how we can identify those multi-level marketing company and their strategy, and how we can avoid that in the student campuses, because clearly they don't, like Nikki said, they don't understand what this is about and what their strategy is going through. So we need to flip the coin to, instead of saying that they're being targeted or they're being like aware, we're not trying to make them an enemy, because chances are the B school of business doesn't even know about this. There's a chance that they're not behind it. There's a half a chance that they're not behind this, in the essence of like trying to have an opportunity for students to come together in a sense of opportunity, even though it might not be the best intention. It might not be the good thing that the MLM come to campus. However, we can't deny that maybe, just maybe, that the School of Business did not intend for that to happen. It's not their intention, and we should not be like dismissing of them for that. So I think overall we should focus the role of the community, focus on education and focusing on looping in the council and how we can educate the community members so that none of it can continue going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I see that Alan has a direct response. I'll just say something really quick too. Like I really agree with like a lot of the things that you said, Arthur. I really think that education is the right way to go forward with this. I'll explain like another time, like my strategy with this, but I don't believe in just condemnation for the sake of condemnation. I don't think it does much. I think that's like evident with like some of the past boards and SFSS and what students didn't like about how they conducted their business. I've read through SFSS policies, bylaws really intently on this to try to figure out like what's the best angle to take, and we need to make this a stance of the SFSS, this condemn it officially, so that people like have that I guess positionality, so that they can like continue that, right? Because SFSS needs to take a stance on something so that people can continue to work on it, I guess. Otherwise people will continue to debate it. So yeah, Alan, I'll let you go. Thank you for adding to this conversation. I'm glad this conversation is fruitful.
Yeah, I'm very wary that if we just do education, look, after the meeting tomorrow, things will be much clearer. And as we go further and we see who's really behind all this, it'll become much clearer. But education these days is not enough. What they're doing is lying to public, taking advantage of students, simply educating students on what to avoid. Someone will slip through the cracks and they'll have full reign and exploit them. It has to be much more. And I really think hard condemnation, once we find out more information, which I think most of you guys would agree with, if it's reasonable, it has to be the play here, because students will not get access to everything we can educate them about. We have to protect them, not there, but structurally.
I added a direct response to that, Alan. Yeah, you said that very poignantly, very clearly and articulately. Thank you for sharing. I do think like a strong stance of condemnation can really like assert our positionality and create like a strong like alliance and I guess basis for advocacy to go forward, because without like a strong like society stance on something, people will continue to begin that process of debating it. But if we condemn it, it'll help us move forward from a strategic aspect. Education is important. It can be part of what we're doing. I think it should be a necessary part of what we're doing, because there's some people that will learn from education, but there'll always be people who fall through the cracks. And that's been evident with all the people that reached out to me saying that they have been those people who have fallen through the cracks and have fallen victim to this and lost sometimes thousands of dollars. And they don't have that money to spare. It like makes me actually like really want to like I don't know, makes me feel really, really horrible. Like just to hear all this and like seeing that so many people are falling victim to this kind of thing without having full knowledge and of what's going on and being misled basically by people with these predatory marketing strategies and recruitment strategies that tell people that you'll be rich by doing this and there's barely any work and oh my god, you can make all this money or whatever, without really fully giving the full picture. Like people education sometimes is not enough, and we really need to make sure that the presence of these people are not going to be like continued on campus. That's something that's really important, and we need to lobby the university hard and figure out what's going on, who's allowing this, and to really make sure. And it might not be so difficult because I know the university already has like they're very willing to talk to me about this. I think I from what I've gathered, they want to do something about it, but there hasn't been that push for it yet. So I think this is the first time from what I've seen that SFSS is taking a stance on this. So I think it'll be good. So yeah, thank you, Alan. Anyone else want to share anything before we move on?
Oh, it has another list.
I think he has another list. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just one last point. Has this I really would love if this would go to the peak. I think like with companies like this, under scrutinization and backlash, they withdraw, they hide, they run away. So having a public thing like the peak take this on, maybe if someone would reach out when we do have information, even though the information's already there. But yeah, I would really love this to be as public as possible as we can. And I think the peak would be a great outlet to talk to.
Yeah, that'd be great. I will reach out to the peak again. Note that I have reached out to the peak in the past for collaborative action and like some projects, and they never responded to me. So I'll need to double check and see what's going on there. So hopefully we can utilize their resources. But from my past experiences, it might not be possible if they don't respond. So hopefully we can go forward with that. Yeah. Arthur, you have any, you want to list?
I'm gonna to quickly jump in and say that if you wanted to approach the peak, there is the idea that maybe let me do the talking.
Yeah.
Because from an equity standpoint, it is sort of unfair. Okay, I can get that. I can see that it's unfair for the international student. But I think that maybe instead of trying to attack the peak or get the peak on board with this from a university standpoint, which they may or may not agree, why don't we go from an equity standpoint and say that it's not equitable for people, for them to have to go through with this and getting caught up in all this. Maybe that will be something that will have a better response and maybe
for the peak, right?
Yeah, for the peak.
Do you mind if I jump in? Because like if we're looking at like the ideology of the progressives that are currently running the peak right now, right? And people, and they do respond to an equity lens, right? And it can be a two-pronged approach, because I do think an equity lens is actually quite relevant to this specific situation. And that's something that I want to really touch on as well. And that's what I'm trying to really get at with understanding like who the vulnerable people are in this situation, which are like, and largely international students. So we can definitely do that as well. And I think later on we'll discuss strategy on that. But the peak would be good, but I think let's focus on getting our message across, getting across a strong like stance ourselves, and getting across our message, and then later on present that to the peak and maybe amend it a little bit to be more digestible to them. As Arthur has said, with the equity lens, right? Because it is relevant. I think I truly believe it is relevant in this situation, especially. So let's do that. I would like to hear from, if you guys are okay with this, I'd like to hear from Muriel and Priyanka and Shauna. Yeah, Muriel, go for it.
Okay, so I think this is a very good initiative. I would say that before we even invite external, not external, but before you help amplify voices, I think that you should speak to the school, the business school first. And I would also advise that you send it to the vice president for academic and provost, that office, and let them know that in the university, even if the SFSS wants to put up posters, we have to go through facilities. Okay, so we can't just, even though we are a student-run organization, we can't just put up posters or advertise on campus. We need to let facilities know. So if these companies are just coming onto campus and they are advertising and facilities is not doing anything about it, it becomes problematic. Because if we are not allowed, even students are not allowed to post anywhere on campus, why do such organizations have the right to do so? And if we have a branch under our bureaucracy that ensures that our facilities is used in a certain manner, why is facilities not taking any preemptive actions to prevent these companies from advertising their work? Facilities can just not say, oh, well, we've been doing it, but then it's still ongoing. Well, no, you still have to do something about it, because the university, although it's like business school related, the university is liable if something should happen to the students. It's just that students don't say anything. That is why the university has kind of, how do I say it, have kind of neglected their responsibilities, but it is their responsibility to take care of students when they are on campus, including the information that gets out to students as much as possible. I understand we are in a day and age where there's abundance of information, but on campus, on their facilities, the university needs to do something. So push it that way. And if the university says something else, then we can do a broad, broad university-wide something by bringing in media and letting other people get to know about it. Also, I would also love to hear about probably if you could get somebody to tell you about the experience when you go and talk to people, as the VP academic, that would be very, very good. Just maybe one person or something, or even if somebody has typed out the experience in an email or something, it can give validity to the argument that you go and make.
Thank you so much, Muriel. All that was very well said. I really agree with you. I think that the strategy that you're outlining here, the suggestions, I think are quite good, and I would be in favor of going forward with that, something like that. I think that you're right about like that. We should talk with the university and figure out why is facility services allowing these people to poster on campus? Did they give them permission? Why would they give them permission? And if they didn't give them permission, why are they not enforcing it? So that's like one of the stances. And how do facilities relate with BD School business, and who can actually give that overreaching permission? Because from what I've researched and who I've talked to, ancillary services and next who handle space oversight in the entire university do not know about this and have not given them approval. So can people just go past that and give their own approval? And is that even the right process internally? Since students have not actually brought this up in a really organized forum, like that's where the SFSS comes in, and this is the beauty and the strength of the SFSS to actually pay students to organize this action and advocacy and talk about issues that are important to students. And I think that this is really representative of what we really should be working on. And I will take an approach to talk with the university first. And I think having that meeting, like I really pushed to have that meeting with BD School Business, and it's great. Like they're very receptive too. Like I've talked with Preet, and she said that she has a great relationship with SFSS. So she was happy to assist with that. So hopefully we'll get some clarity, and I'm glad, Alan, you want to help. But and so yeah, go for it, Arthur. I see that you listed.
Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly say, I agree that we should talk to the university and also talk to a bunch of people about why they're jumping through the hole and going on tables to basically talk to get a chance to recruit students to whatever they're doing. Now, with that being said, I would want to caution a little bit of with the language that we use when we talk to them, because we don't want to make it defensive and say they fuck up, for lack of a better word. Because while we recognize that, there might have been people who have jumped through the crack and come to the university and really had a chance to pursue a table without approval, we do not want to make it defensive and say that we aren't doing our job either. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of, we don't want to come out from a place to accuse the university of not doing anything, even though we're asking them why does this happen. Sort of, there's a little bit of I just say that we just have to approach this very carefully with the wording that we use, because I do not see a way forward, like, effectively, if we come out of a place to accuse universities of doing something wrong.
Yeah.
That's my really one 2 cents here.
Yeah. I'll direct response to that. Thanks, Arthur. Yeah, I think that we shouldn't accuse anyone of doing anything without getting information. So the information gathering and perspective gathering and context gathering, a step of talking to the university tomorrow, and maybe potentially other people other than representatives from BD School Business would be great. Prior to having any kind of stance or statement or anything publicly that, oh, the university is the one doing this wrong. Because we've also seen from last year, a lot of the contentions against prior executive boards, right, were that they took this very antagonistic stance towards the university, which stopped them from wanting to work together with the SFSS. So we want to rebuild and repair relationships, not hurt relationships. So that we can work as collaboratively as possible and appeal to them, and their good hearts, hopefully, right, as much as possible, and see and make them want to go out of their way to help. But if that doesn't work, then you push the side of blaming and condemnation and everything, right? But let's maybe move on from this. I just want to hear from Priyanka and Ishana. Just generally, you can say something very simple in the chat or whatever. Just I want to get your sense. Sounds good? Sounds good. Yeah. Priyanka, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, this is the first time I've heard of this happening at BD, so I was reading through the posts as well, in the links that Alan had in his document. I think this is a great initiative, and I do agree with Alan on the fact that condemnation does only take you so far. So after the meeting tomorrow, it would be nice to, if you can relay the information back to us, probably the next meeting, I'm guessing. But yeah, so I started searching up SFU and BD, and SFU BD has a post. It's from 2011, to be fair, but it's literally about how they got the most students to sign up with Vector, which I think is really messed up. But I added it to the link at the bottom, or the document at the bottom. But yeah, I'm in full support of this motion. I'd love to, if you I'd love to help spearhead this with you and Alan, if you guys are going to be working on it. I'm full support.
Yeah, thank you so much, Priyanka, for being feeling the passion for this and the importance of this. And I really I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, and because I care a lot about this too, and I see how much it's hurting students and has the potential to continue hurting students. So this is great. Thank you for adding that. That's so ridiculous. It's a great find. Why are they bragging about that? That's horrible. I think Priyanka and Alan and whoever else may be interested in this, I will let's have open a chat after this and just share some information to just prep for the discussion tomorrow with BD School Business to make it the most conducive to a good outcome as possible. And thank you, Ishana. I see that Ishana has to leave to prepare for the debates, and I know I asked Ishana too to indicate how she's doing on this, and she gave a thumbs up in the chat. So I'm glad we have consensus on this being a good initiative. But does anyone have anything last things to say? Otherwise, I'll move on because we do have things to get through. But the good thing is that I explained a lot of the things in this presentation, so that hopefully the rest of the meeting we'll just be going through the motions, right? Figuratively and literally speaking. So anyone feel free to list, and if anyone has any last things to note or anything, but we'll move on to the next parts of the agenda. if not, and let me actually, for that, I'm going to actually open up the agenda on my computer, like the revised version of it. Okay, so I just have it here ready for me. All right, so let's move on. So yeah, I'm going to not do the summer semester report right now. So I'll like postpone that to another meeting, but I'll let you guys know.
You're getting your second.
So I moved to postponement. I'll say indefinitely, but I'll add it onto the agenda when I'm ready for that, because this stuff is ended up taking a lot of my time and energy. I need a seconder.
I think your secondary, you want to postpone something.
I need a seconder for the postponement. The summer.
Will second.
Okay, health sciences, thank you. I'm just seeking unanimous consent on this. All right, moving on from that. Okay, thank you. Reports, enrollment appeals, student tuition consultation survey. So I'm just going to be very brief on these ones. I can give more context at a later time. But the student tuition consultation survey, I wanted to actually clarify also, since Muriel's here, like what really happened with that, because like I didn't get like a lot of information like internally or clear communication on like what happened with it. I know that so basically the student tuition consultation survey was something that UAAC was helping with. I remember, like, if you guys remember, in August, I believe, we talked a lot about it and we worked a lot on it, and we proposed like we went through the questions and did like a comb through of everything. I don't believe that it went out until like after a certain deadline. I was sick like around the time that it had to go out, but then I don't know what happened, but maybe Muriel, if you know what happened with that, it'd be great. But with the student tuition consultation survey, basically the university is asking students what they think in regard to their budget priorities and how their budget for the whole SFU should be allocated and prioritized. And they're looking for justification to increase tuition as well. So that's kind of their angle from it. But if Muriel, if you have any like things to add on that, that'd be great. If not, I'll like just talk with people and come later on when I have more information on this.
Okay, so for that survey, what happened was that we did a preliminary analysis on what we had. We had a little over 800 submissions. We opened it for, I think, was it 4 to 5 days, if my memory serves me right. And we drafted a preliminary report on that. It was given to the president, and also it was also used by VP External for her post-secondary budget consultation with the educational minister. So she had a brief presentation for the minister. What happened was that SFU will do this budget consultation for the entire year. So it will be, the next budget will be drafted next year. So what happened was that when I sat down with the president, that's Ellen, we decided that we were going to close the survey. So it's not closed entirely, it's just closed for now, because we also had, remember, we also had first year students coming in, and they hadn't experienced university life, so they can't really say what they want their money to be used for. So we are waiting for the semester to run out. Then next year, before the university finalizes plans on what they are going to use our tuition for, I said as if I'm part, the student tuition for, we will run another one when school reopens, so that we'll have that done before they finalize plans on what to do with the students' money. Yeah.
Thanks for the clarity. That helps a lot. I'll touch base with you on this as well in the future, because I think we can make it a really good thing for the timing that you guys talked about, which is the start of the new year after this semester. So thank you, Muriel. If anyone has anything to say, you can list, but I'll move on to the next report. All right, thank you. So Enrollment Appeals Committee. So I just want to give an overview of some of the things that I'm working on in terms of my university committee representation, which is a part of my job description. So I have been invited to different committees. One of the committees that I've been invited to as well, other than this, was the Open Educational Resources Working Group, which was a pleasure to be working with. But that one is, I believe, right now in reformation. So they're looking to refound it in a different format. So they're not currently meeting right now from what I know. But what I'm going is, oh, thank you, Ryan, for being here. Okay, awesome. Great. Ryan just joined. But yeah, for the Enrollment Appeals Committee, this is something that I attend bi-weekly on Wednesdays. And I believe it goes from 2 to 2:30 or 2 to 3 generally, depending on how long it goes. And this is something that the VP University and Academic Affairs has been named as to have a seat on this committee, but it is composed of different types of university administrators, many of them that work in like the registrar kind of side of administration. And basically what I do in this committee is along with the other members of the committee, the university administrators, we go through appeals from students regarding, I think that there's other things other than tuition refunds that we can do, but I've so far only dealt with requests for tuition refunds. So the way that works is that there are students that will end up requesting a tuition refund through the general, there's a normal process of doing that, and then they get denied. And then when they get denied, they can appeal, and then they appeal to this committee. So a lot of times I've been reviewing people that generally it's a medical extenuating circumstances or compassionate grounds. So for example, this is not an example specifically of anyone, but let's say somebody had just got diagnosed with a chronic illness, and it's been impacting their academics. And at the same time, one of their family members passed away. And then we'd be reviewing, and then what would happen is they end up dropping after the drop deadline for full refund. And then they'll be asking for, if their refund can be, if they get only a 75% refund, for example, if they can get the 25% back. So then we'll be reviewing those cases. So that's something that I've been doing bi-weekly. If anyone has any questions on that, it's great, but otherwise I'll move on. Another one is community involvement and initiatives. I want to talk about this one really briefly, but I'll bring it up another time as well. I've been spending some good time consulting and gathering information and support and just general advice and education that is really important for me, I think, in my role of how to do governance, how to do politics, how to do community organizing, how to do advocacy, all these things. So basically, from my experience as a VP, I didn't have the best onboarding experience, and I didn't have the best training experience coming into this role. So I ended up not being well prepared when I started out to be successful in this role, because you're basically thrown into a role with all these huge responsibilities of saying that you have to do X, Y, and Z, and basically you have to figure it out yourself on how to do it. So that's not a process that's very conducive to success in my experience, from what I've experienced. So I've been seeking whatever I can to spend time on my own time, but also as much as I can, to educate myself on, things that are important and how to do proper, how to do well in this kind of position. And a lot of people that really helped me are people in the community that have experience organizing in the community. So for example, this would be people who organize protests, or people who organize different political initiatives, there's I'm not going to name anyone right now specifically. I have to ask them if they're comfortable being named first, but there's types of organizations that are for workers and for labor, and they really help me with understanding how to approach I guess policy and things like that. So I've really benefited from those consultations and community involvement. I've learned a lot, and I think it's really helped me. with understanding how to best be successful in my role. The unfortunate part is that I wish that could have happened earlier when I started my semester in May, because it's a long time to just like be almost halfway through and then just feel situated, like basically now, right? So there's definitely a question of improving the onboarding and training process for future executives so that they don't go through something similar like I have. But yeah, like I still have to a lot of times figure out things for myself and figure out how to do things. And one way of doing that is I have to then reach out to the community and do it. I don't really have a lot of the internal resources here to ask for help in that way. So yeah, if anyone has any questions on that, feel free, but I just wanted to have like a bit of a candid like share of like my experience in that way in this committee. But yeah, I'll go on to new business unless anyone has anything else. Yeah, so the first new business item, 10.1, is election of member at large. So this is for Duke On. So hi, thank you for being here. Thank you for managing to be here. You're right in time. I would love if you can introduce yourself, I guess, to people, but I can introduce like what I know. So Duke On is like a student at SFU who has been, he actually reached out to me via DM on my Instagram that I have for specifically my SFSS work, and is really enthusiastic about helping with UAAC and has a lot of good ideas and really good motivation to help, and has the availability to be here on Thursdays from 11:30 to 1:30, and also help with things like tabling and outreach and all those things. And I think that's really valuable to our committee. So I would like to propose that we elect Duke On as a member at large of the University and Academic Affairs Committee. Duke On, feel free to share about yourself. You don't have to though, because I know it's not always easy to share and bridge that, but yeah, go for it if you'd like.
Thanks, Nikki, but I think you have basically like introduced like everything about me already, and I'm really glad that I can be here in this meeting and see everyone. So yeah, that's just basically it.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. No, it's really good. I'm really glad to welcome you here, and I would love to have you here. So I'm going to move this. So it's the motion is be it resolved to elect Duke On as a member at large of the University and Academic Affairs Committee for the remainder of the 2022-2023 SFSS fiscal year. So I move this. I'm looking for a seconder for this.
Oh, second.
Okay, Arthur seconds this motion. Any discussion? Anybody have anything? But I'll be seeking unanimous consent otherwise, or yeah. All right. If not, great. Thank you. Welcome, Duke On, to the committee. You're an official member at large. Great. Thank you for being here. I'm glad. I hope that we will have like time and I'll be able, I really want to do things other than just talk in a committee. So we'll be doing active things as well. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you for being here. All the help we can get is very gladly appreciated. All right. Welcome. So next one is so UAA Strategic Planning Working Group. So we're just moving on to that. So basically, I'll just read out the motion because I think that I explained it decently in the motion. So I'll read it. So this is 10.2 UAA Strategic Planning Working Group. So whereas the University and Academic Affairs Annual Strategic Plan is intended to provide guidance and direction by formally establishing the vision, aims, and strategy of the UAA portfolio during the fiscal year. Whereas the 2022-2023 University and Academic Affairs Annual Strategic Plan has not yet been finalized. Whereas myself, Nikki Kerrigan, the current 2022-2023 Vice President, University and Academic Affairs, intends to maximize the extent to which the annual strategic plan is foundationally based on the perspectives and priorities of the student body, based on grassroots outreach methods. Be it resolved to form a working group to guide the development, review, and strategic implementation of the 2022-2023 UAA Annual Strategic Plan, led by the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs. Be it further resolved to name this working group the University and Academic Affairs Strategic Planning Working Group, or UAA Strategic Planning Working Group. And be it further resolved to form a sister working group that works in conjunction and collaboration with the UAA Strategic Planning Working Group with the same membership that is specifically focused on gathering the perspectives and priorities of the student body based on grassroots outreach methods. Be it further resolved for all strategic planning decisions to be directly informed by and prioritize the perspectives and priorities of the student body based on grassroots outreach methods. Be it further resolved to name this working group the University and Academic Affairs Student Outreach Working Group or UAA Student Outreach Working Group. Be it further resolved to appoint members from the UAA or so University and Academic Affairs Committee to participate as members of the sister working group, so both of them. And finally, be it further resolved to recruit students as members of the sister working groups from the wider community who are not associated with a position at the Simon Fraser Student Society. So I'll just actually post this in the chat. Hopefully it'll let me. I probably won't. I'm just going to do it to here. Is it not going to let me do this? That's annoying. Let me just, sorry, give me a moment. But I'll explain like my thinking on this one because I've really planned it out and there's a reason why I want to do it in two different categories, so two working groups, but they're essentially the same working group. So I will move this. I need a seconder for this and then we'll have a discussion. So who would like to second this?
I'll sign seconds.
I'll sign seconds. Thank you. Now we'll list first the add to discussion, but I'm gonna post this in the chat so that it's easy to follow. Oh wow, it's really not letting me do that. Why does it not want me to post in the chat? I'm figuring this out. Sorry, everyone.
It might be because like you're motioning too long. You need to separate.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. So this is the first part and then the second part. Okay, so, and I can also, I'll share my screen because I think it'll be easier to follow. I wish that's like one of the accessibility things in council. So I'm just going to do it for here too. So basically I'll outline first like my thinking on this one and why I think that this way of going about it is a good way of doing it. So here's one thing. So I was approached by like different members of like staff and exec who say like just do the strategic plan and submit it based on previous strategic plans, just basically copy and paste. I mean, like they're not saying it like that, but that's kind of the suggestion I'm getting. They just want me to, or suggest to me the easiest way is just to use the initiatives of the previous exec and just go based on that. But one of the biggest problems like of this the students have brought up with the way things have been done in the past was that these decisions on which initiatives are being focused on, even in UAA, for example, were not done by proper consultation of the student body. So I think that foundation that is based on still needs to be reviewed by like proper student outreach before like anything is properly decided upon formally. So the way I want to go about it is officially having a working group, but and the working group would be just like we'll just have a discussion when we have time, you know, it doesn't have to be long, but just, you know, like getting together, here's like one thing I think, one thing I think, and then just sharing the ideas that way and devising strategy. They don't have to be long meetings. But this is, I think, a good way to organize how this process is going to happen. So what I really want to do and what I really believe in is that I think that we really need to consult the students properly, like before, like we're saying like what we're going to do for students, right? Because it doesn't make sense to just like impose like a different initiatives without asking what students want, because we're supposed to be doing it for students. So I just think that that's like something that needs to be sorted out, and that's why we need to have this kind of process. So I'm going to go through, if you guys can see my screen, just thumbs up, because I'm just going to go through my thinking with this, and we can have a discussion, but hopefully it's good. So you can see can you see my screen, Arthur? Can you see my shared screen?
Which one? The animation?
No.
The previous one?
Yeah. Can you see, like, I'm sharing my screen on Zoom?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect.
I also have my tab open, so.
Okay, perfect. Great. All right. So, so here's the steps. I'm going to outline it really, really simply. We need an annual strategic plan. That's step one. And step two, we don't have one yet. So therefore we need to make one, right? That's where we're coming from. And I'm coming from this perspective that we need to maximize the extent to which the annual strategic plan is foundationally based on the perspectives and priorities of the student body. And I want to do it through grassroots outreach methods, which I can explain what I mean by that, but I want the committee or the working group to also decide that. So I want to form a working group just to guide the development, review, and strategic implementation of the strategic plan, right? And to call that the UAA Strategic Planning Working Group. And basically this working group is not going to be it's technically going to be a separate working group for the sake of like organizational clarity, but it's like in effect, it won't be anything like different. So we'll have the same membership across both, and there's not going to be any additional meetings across what they're all like. You can consider them the same group in the same meetings, right? But it's just, this is for like organizational purposes. So basically whoever is willing to help out with the strategic planning working group would also be helping out with under like devising strategies for student outreach, because they're so closely linked to each other and dependent on each other for each other to happen, that they can't be separated from each other, if that makes sense. So like that's why I proposed it this way. So I would like to appoint members to this, and in terms of time commitment, like you don't have to think of it as being like much more or anything really more than anything that would happen in this committee. It's just like a way to organize like how we're going to be strategically planning this thing in this committee. So it's not, I wouldn't consider it to be like much additional work, if much at all. And the amount of work really depends on what's happening at the time. So there might be some weeks where we're not like, I'm not asking for anything additionally from you guys. I just want to create like an organizing apparatus that we can put together like our ideas into. And that's why there's a working group. I hope that makes sense. Can you guys like give me a thumbs up if I explained this correctly? And feel free to list as well. Alan, I think go for it. Let me just find a way to mute myself. Sorry. Okay, I see Alan listed. Go for it.
Are you planning to nominate now? Because there's no part of this motion saying to appoint counselors X, Y, Z. There's nothing about that. So the motion would have to be amended if that the plan is to do it today.
I think I tried to do be it further resolved to appoint members from the University and Academic Affairs Committee. I didn't put X, Y, and Z because I don't want to limit the number of people. So we can, I guess we can use that part and just like add in whoever is appointed to it. So it's the second last one. Hopefully that's good. Makes sense. Yeah, but does it like I would like maybe somebody else can you explain in your own words like what I tried to explain, just to make sure that like you understood what I tried to explain. Arthur, you want to try going for it?
So
Yeah, go for it.
from my understanding, you're trying to develop a strategic plan for this year, and you currently don't have one. So you want a working group in the community to help you figure out a strategic plan. You want to form one with one for outreach group, for outreach planning, and then the other one which is for GA as the general whole. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, and they're basically part of the same working group. However, outreach may, like once we're done the strategic plan, outreach will probably continue, right? Which makes sense. But I want them to have the same membership for simplicity purposes.
So you don't have to like report to you don't have to conflict the two members to working group, whoever you elect into.
Yeah, whoever elects goes into both of them, and they're both part of the same thing. Like the meetings, like I can promise like now the meetings will not be, I'm not going to ask for two separate meetings for both working groups in the week. They're going to happen at the same time, and they're not going to be that long. I want to make them as efficient as possible.
You don't want as much of an overlap as much as possible, because the thing is they do overlap, and you don't want to have like having two separate working group members just so that they get conflict.
Yeah, because
it's like you don't want left hand doing what the right hand do it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it too. And it's also they're so foundationally based on each other that because like all strategic planning should be done with outreach, right, as a part of it, right? If we're like devising a strategic plan, like it needs to be done with outreach. So they're both quite dependent on each other, and the outreach that we're doing is dependent on what we decide in strategic planning. So it's like two parts of the same coin, essentially. So can I get like thumbs up if that like makes sense to everyone? And if anyone wants to also share, feel free to list. Thanks, Arthur. Because we'll be done this very soon. Okay, Priyanka says thumbs up. Okay, great. Okay, awesome. Makes sense. I would encourage like everyone to join this, because like I think that this is something that like can be expected as a priority of like UAAC, and I'm not going to ask for a lot of additional time or effort for this. You can think of this as a general UAAC informal meeting to plan UAAC, if you want to think about it like that too.
Also, I would say that it would be best to have, from an executive standpoint here, that it would be best to not, I don't want to do it, but like, it would be best to not have two executives in the working group, just because like I don't want to start with unilaterally making decisions for the community that shouldn't be. So I would encourage like counselor and maybe member at large, or even student at large when they come over, when we have that, to participate in it, just so we have meaningful participation. Because I'm not exactly sure where my road going through down like after this meeting, and I'm going for the next couple of weeks. So so we're gonna have to look into that. But in the meanwhile, we should absolutely get the ball rolling. So I would encourage the rest of you guys to get that in, and then once my role has been determined further down the line, we'll readjust accordingly. Yeah, because he's acting VP equity right now, so makes sense. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Arthur. So I'm going to request that like everyone here joins. But Arthur, you don't have to. But of course, like I can't force anyone, but I will nominate everyone that's here except Arthur, since you indicated. So I'm going to nominate Alan, Priyanka, and Duke on. Alan, feel free to list. Go for it.
I mean, before we do this, we do need to add a line at the end, just saying, be it further resolved to appoint this. You can just make it. We don't have to fill the whole thing, but it's just we have to make sure the policy is okay. And also, I agree with Arthur. I don't think two groups is really necessary. It can be one. And also on the point of outreach, as the co-chair of the outreach committee, I do worry that there might be some overlap here, at least for what both committees can do and are allowed to do. So yeah, I get that we have to start this right away, but I wouldn't mind more clarification.
I'm just going to reply to this specific outreach is related to UAA initiatives. And there's like some things like I would love to like talk with outreach committee, but since they just started meeting, I'm not sure how much direction we can get from that, but that's something that we can revisit in the future. But like what I'm trying to emphasize is like, don't think of this as two separate committees, think of it as one of the same, and that like the outreach part is like a subcommittee of like, or like a sub working group of like the strategic planning one, and there's no additional work that will happen out of like. Okay, it's not a mostly usual thing to do. I would say that, but however, I do think Alan had a point, because the thing is that outreach committee is a committee on its own, right? And your outreach for the initiative for your entire UAAP is one singular thing on its own. I just think I can see why he had a concern for that, and I do think that it should have warranted, because like I worry that it's going to be able to overlap, and I think that having two communities for separate different purposes might also kind of collude with each other, because you're essentially creating two communities that have different purposes of its own, and it's going to get confusing for a lot of people. Well, I think that's like something I see where you're coming from, but I think that's something that we can deal with, like when it comes to the time of dealing with that. If it becomes a problem, we can see how to not make that become a problem. But my worry is to rely on the outreach committee for guidance when I haven't been able to do that so far. So since they haven't met, and since I haven't been able to get Abby specifically to talk to me about the outreach committee and what's been going on. I haven't been receiving direction from them or any guidance or any strategy. And that puts me and it puts UAAC in a really difficult spot because we don't have any guidance in terms of like outreach, right? So, and since we are unfortunately in a point within the executive committee of needing to work pretty much independently of each other, since there's a lack of internal collaboration, right? Which hopefully will change. I can't make in my right mind right now the good decision to say, oh yes, let's rely on the outreach committee, because that hasn't been something that has been able to happen so far. And I don't want to put the UAAC in a negative spot to just be waiting on the direction of something that may or may not happen, right? So I want to expedite this process. It's very important to do so. We can't wait for much longer, right? So like the way that it's being proposed right now, like I thought about this really deeply, and I've thought about the considerations of there being an outreach committee, but due to my experience going through this and not being able to, sorry, if you want a list?
What you're saying is
Go for it.
UAAC
Yeah,
itself, you want two separate committees,
it's like a working groups, right? Yeah,
and one is for what,
strategic planning.
strategic planning?
Mhm. But it's more like, so I'll actually get up to, so it's more like this. So let me just, can you guys see the? Can you guys see
the
this?
board?
So it's more like this, actually. Oh my, it's not going properly. It's more like this. So UAAC,
Mm-hmm.
strategic planning,
Mm-hmm.
and then like outreach. They're not too separate, they're part of the same, right? This is like part of the same like
Okay.
ecosystem, right? I'll put this here,
Okay, so
right? Can you see
if
that?
you, okay, can you guys see it? It's a little blurry, but. Okay, so. If that's the case, I just worry that because like. I guess that what you're trying to do with outreach is like, you don't want to have it like, have them kind of waiting on direction.
Yeah.
And then like, when the direction didn't come, we're gonna have to readjust.
Yeah, because it's already happened, right? I've already waited for direction. I've already asked for this direction and I haven't received it, right? So that's the problem I'm dealing with as an exec.
Probably community chair right now.
I've talked to Abby before because he was the person that was supposed to be organizing outreach.
Who's organizing it?
I don't know what they've had their first meeting recently. However, like from what I know about committees that I'm not like a member of, it's very hard to have these fruitful conversations to lead to a proper strategy and direction. Like if for like what we're looking for something that's not directly related to what has decided to be their priorities. So it's like it's something I can explain, but I think like I've had this experience. Alan, go for it. Yeah.
Yeah, our first meeting was September 30th, so it's been 14 days now. And I don't know why you'd be reaching out to Abby, since the co-chairs for that committee are Ben and I. So if this was reached out to us anytime in the past 2 weeks, I mean, this would not be really that big of an issue. And right now it isn't that big of an issue. It's just I'm confused why the 2 committees is not necessary for this. If everyone in there will be part of the second committee, it just feels like needless. It does not really make too much sense to me.
Yeah, so let me direct response to clarify that. So I've reached out before your meeting in September. So the person that an exec that was tasked to deal with outreach. All right, the person in exec that was tasked to deal with outreach was Abby. So, and that's the person I was told to reach out to by Helen, the president. So that's the person I talked to, and I reached out to many times about outreach. So that may have changed now, right? But from my experience, I don't have faith in having to deal with other committees to help us direct how this committee will function, right? There's obviously exec committee and council and things like that, right? But I think we need to have our own ecosystem and strategy set up that we can work as efficiently as possible, and having to continue to add many additional extraneous factors, right, and variables here, which is relying on other people and adding in other people, complicates the situation and adds in other variables that we can't always predict, right? So that's like why I think that it's better to have this, and of course we'll work in collaboration, right? That's something that I would love to do. I would love to work in collaboration with that, but if we can even have like an outreach discussion based on like what we talk about from the outreach committee, right? Like it doesn't have to be that rigid. And what I'm trying to get across here is like, don't think of the proposal that rigidly, because it's meant to be creating an ecosystem with the UAAC specifically to create like, so naming things and categorizing things differently helps humans think about things and think about things clearly, right? Because like, if you call like if we're saying we're doing outreach under like strategic planning, it doesn't have the same kind of onus and like level of significance, even for the people internally working within it, unless compared to if you say we're working under an outreach working group, like it creates a level of like delineation that like creates this significance for people. Like it's hard to explain, but this is like based on like psychological like factors, right, that I intuitively understand as well, right? So I would say what I'm trying to say is like think about it in terms of like the outreach part is the same as the strategic planning, and when strategic planning is done, right, like in terms of the creating the strategic annual plan, it will mainly accumulate just into being where we working in outreach, right? So, and this is an outreach working group, not an outreach committee, right? So it's not the exact same thing. It's UAA outreach working group, right? Specifically, it's called let me just go here.
Keep it in that then, because
it's not called an outreach committee, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like I think there's an
if you were just
equivocation.
thinking about the provision of the working group itself, it should talk about the merit what kind of outreach we can do with the community.
That's literally all I wanted it to be, right? Like I don't see the huge problem with it, because like I just wanted it to be a working group to talk about like what kind of outreach we should do within the committee. Like that's basically all it is, right?
It's just we don't want to start with overreaching to the executive. That's the thing.
I mean, the thing is like there's obviously discussions on that, but there's been situations of overreach already happening with other executives. So that's another discussion, right? But I think that this is something that should be done, and we'll need to extend this meeting. I want to get this done with. I'm just gonna say I want it to be done by 1:45, but I'll say 1:50. So I'll move to extend the meeting until 1:50 p.m. I'll move that. I need a seconder. Extend the meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extend the meeting.
I just said 1:50, but I want to be done before that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Arthur seconds.
Anyway, so.
Yeah. All right. So I think like we can, this is actually something that I think in strategic planning we can discuss. Okay. Like whether, because we can always dissolve a working group afterwards. This is not something that's always going to be in stone forever. We can always go back and change it. That's why we need to have this strategic planning in place anyway. So that's my solution I'm going to offer. I've nominated Alan, Priyanka, and Duke on to join. And I will add in as Alan pointed out. Yeah, that's something I was going to do. So be it further resolved to a point like whoever. So I'm going to go through. Do you guys accept your nomination? Any questions before accepting? Yeah, go for it, Alan.
Honestly, at this time, no. I would prefer if we were to postpone this with a more clear motion, and so we can vote on this as soon as possible. Because I don't know, it's not as clear to me as I think this motion could and should be.
How about we meet in the strategic planning to clarify this and then come with a second motion to like, so that we just have this
Then
infrastructure in place so we
if
can
you're
meet.
gonna do that, you're gonna have to basically cut the motion in fact into two again.
That's fine, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to table the first thing first. You're gonna strike the part where you want the
But part of the same thing, right?
they're part of the same thing. Right? So hear me out.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do here is take the sister group off the board.
Okay.
And then basically put it into two. You're just gonna go establish a strategic planning working group for now. And then the sister group formation is another motion, not entirely.
And we'll just come to that with the next meeting, right? But I
Mhm,
think
and
it's something we should talk
then you
about.
postpone it.
Yeah, I think this is something that like would be good to talk about more. Yeah. So here, let me just come up with yeah. Okay. What is this here? Let's see. Okay, let me just add this here. So I'm just gonna. So I will, okay, just give me one moment just to. Okay. Okay, so I just put it to the first few whereas clauses. So whereas the UAA is intended to provide guidance, whereas the annual strategic plan is not being yet finalized, whereas the maximize the extent to which this, be it resolved to form this and this and this, and these are the people. Okay. So I will put this into the chat. So I will move that this we amend the motion to the following.
Shoot, what?
Sorry.
What?
I got the New York Times thing too, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Why can I post this? Okay, give me a moment. Why is the technology failing me? It's okay. Let's go here. Okay, so I'm gonna put this here. Oh, why not?
You're gonna,
I have to make it smaller, that's why, right?
yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make it smaller. So this is the part of the amended motion. There. So this is the amended motion. I moved this. I need a seconder to put this to amend it.
I will move to second. Please move to second.
Okay, Arthur seconds. Okay, any discussion on the amended motion? Alan, do you think it's fine now? Does it? You know what you think? I put in the chat.
Okay, you're gonna have to make another title for your second motion, which we're gonna have to.
Yeah, so Alan respond chat seems fine to me. Will we be nominating then? Yeah, we will be nominating.
We'll be nominating, we'll be the one nominating,
When
but
people get back, and everyone has to verbally accept their nomination. So I will ask so I've nominated right now Priyanka, Alan, and Duke on. So okay, do you guys accept your nomination? And
Yeah, I do accept it.
okay, thank you, Alan. Okay, Priyanka and Dukan, feel free to
But
if you have any more
then,
questions.
yeah, everyone
Okay,
good.
okay, Priyanka says yes, and then Duke on, do you accept your nomination? I know you're new, sorry. You might not be here right now.
Okay, so that means
I might have to add him in later, so we'll
Yeah, I just said I accept
oh
it.
great, perfect.
okay, cool.
Thank you so much. Okay, perfect. So,
That
should we just like seek unanimous consent on this? Is there any
you
other?
can just put unanimous consent on it, and then later on
And then
when
we'll-
they come back
Yeah.
and
And this will be something with a rolling thing where we
Mhm.
can keep adding people. But yeah, you guys accept it. Yeah, and you guys did. So
now we just need to seek unanimous
yeah,
consent.
unanimous consent, right? So anyone having contentions, questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next one and then hopefully adjourn soon. So yeah,
Okay, no,
great.
was
We move
everybody
on.
good?
Yeah, I think we moved on. All right,
Okay, so
great. So next one here. So this is motion 7.3.
wait, are you do we have to do a vote for the postpone motion?
This is not the, I don't know if, I can just talk right now. If you guys think it's okay, we'll
Okay.
continue with it, but if not, we'll just postpone it and then I can fix it. Okay, sharing screen. Can you guys see my screen? This is the last motion and then discussion we can postpone or do really quickly. All right, so this is condemnation of labor exploitation and predatory employers on campus and formation of UAA student labor rights working group. So this is separate, right? For whoever wants to do this stuff. So I remember when we talked in the presentation, hello, sorry, somebody walked past. I'm gonna stop, don't distract me, Arthur. Okay, sorry. So when we talked in the presentation, Alan and Priyanka were really, you guys indicated that you're really passionate about this. So basically your involvement can be articulated within a working group, and we can do it that way. But if this is okay, we can go with it. If not, I can just fix it and we can talk about it in strategic planning. But I'll read this out. Can you guys see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is motion 7.3, condemnation of labor exploitation and predatory employers on campus and formation of UAA student labor rights working group. So whereas me, Nikki Kerrigan, the current 2022-2023 Vice President University and Academic Affairs, oh my, has, I'll just, academic, whatever, doesn't matter, has been drafting a proposal for a new SFSS issues policy related to labor exploitation, whereas current events on campus related to predatory employment recruitment practices have made a return during the fall 2022 semester, whereas these predatory employment recruitment practices deliberately target vulnerable students, especially international students, who often do not fully who often do not yet fully understand the Canadian system and norms, including often not fully understanding their labor rights, whereas the university has historically permitted predatory employers to poster on campus and recruit students at career events and tabling in public areas such as the West Mall Center, whereas the current Vice President, University and Academic Affairs has received numerous complaints and concerns from students regarding the presence of these predatory companies on campus, as well as testimonials of negative experiences, whereas there's a need to educate students, especially international students, on exploitative labor practices and their labor rights, whereas there is a need to conduct further discussions with the university administration to lobby and advocate for the removal and banning of these predatory employers from having a presence on campus. Be it resolved for the University and Academic Affairs Committee to formally condemn exploitative labor practices and to support advocacy towards the removal and banning of employers who engage in exploitative practices from campus spaces. Be it further resolved to form a working group to guide the development, review, and strategic implementation of a new SFSS issues policy oriented towards the issue of labor exploitation, led by the Vice President, University and Academic Affairs. Be it further resolved to name this working group the University and Academic Affairs Student Labor Rights Working Group, or UAA Student Labor Rights Working Group. Be it further resolved for the UAA Student Labor Rights Working Group to devise a strategy to promote and provide material support and benefits for students who are experiencing or vulnerable to exploitative labor practices. Be it further resolved to appoint members from the University and Academic Affairs Committee to participate in this working group and to open up membership to the rest of council. I'll provide the opportunity for, hello, sorry, do you guys want to come in? We're having a UAAC meeting right now. You guys want to? Yes. UAAC meeting right now. Sorry, this is Ethan and
We're almost done.
Abby. Hello, Ethan and Abby.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, sorry. Okay. So I'll actually provide the opportunity for other people to move this one. So who would like to move this?
Health science will move.
Health sciences will move, seeking a seconder.
Communication.
Communication, great. Any discussion on this? I think like if there's anything, I'll just say first, if there's anything you guys want to amend on this, if you think the motion could be done better, we can revisit it next time. But I want to have this here to have a positionality that we don't think that this stuff is okay, right? And that we have a plan to implement changes and material benefit to help people. So basically whoever is interested, for example, Priyanka and Alan, you'd be part of the working group. And yeah, like we will just talk about that. So instead of like just having like saying it's like working groups are just ways of categorizing, ways of organizing people and having discussions, right? It's quite like a
information gathering scenario where you're just looking
Yeah.
to add on to the document that you guys have been doing
Yeah.
for the whole.
it's already the document. It's already part of the working group. Like working groups are quite like, I guess, like arbitrary in the sense that you can determine what the extent of a working group is. So like just adding to a document could be a part of like what the working group does. Going to the meeting could be a part of what the working group does. So what you guys already want to do is already part of what I would suggest would be what the working group does. So that's my explanation of that. Hopefully that makes sense. But does anyone have any things they would like to say? Do you think the motion is fine? I've tried to do it in a way that's as neutral in the sense of like as possible with the information we have right now, and we can always have a different motion later on once we get more information, right? But this is just to establish our positionality, that this is something that we don't like, that we want to work on, that we don't think is okay, right? And to have a way of working on it through the working group. Can I get thumbs up if that makes sense? And feel free to list. Thank you. All right, so I'm looking here. Priyanka, thumbs up. Alan, list. Yeah, go for it. So let me just stop screen sharing now too.
If this whole condemnation goes to council, I could see some contention because it's not as specific, I think, as it should be. I think we should focus it on really vector marketing, like and put that in the wording there. And of course, have the greater point that this is against all labor exploitative groups. But just for council's sake and for reaching a better audience, I would make it specific so people know what you're talking about with having to give a presentation beforehand.
I agree with you. I think that's a good decision.
Yeah, I
And,
think,
yeah.
I think so too, because honestly, I do feel like for council's sake, I imagine that those kind of comments I'm going to not reflect well, especially I don't think PD has a representative right now, but it's not gonna go well for a lot of people if we don't
Yeah.
like it specific.
So this is not the motion I'd bring to council.
Mhm.
It's something I like it's more of like a starting motion to establish our positionality and say that this is something generally that we don't think is good. We're going to find more information and we're going to do it through this working group. And the motion that I'll bring to council will be much more specific than this one. But I think that this is the point of this one is just to say that we're going to start working on this, that we don't think is good from what we know, but we don't know that much right now. So we're going to look for more information and come up with strategies in the working group. So hopefully that sounds reasonable to everyone. Yeah, this is the best motion I could come up with based on what we know right now as well. And we can always pass further motions when we have more clarity, specifically, you know, to condemn, for example, vector marketing if we feel that there's something we should do. And that's something that I would be open to as well. And I think it's a good idea. So yeah, can I just see like if that seems reasonable with people, and hopefully Al and I got to your suggestions and concerns with this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to amend this motion and I'm going to nominate Alan and Priyanka, since both of you want to work on this initiative, and I'll also open it up to Duke on if that's something you also want to work on, but I don't want to overload you. But if you're interested in this, totally feel free. You can indicate in the chat or verbally. Yeah, Alan, go for it.
Just in response, how much work would this be a week? Because I am loaded. As much as I do love this initiative, it has to make sense for me in my schedule.
I think like we can talk about like what you can do and what you have time for. I don't have like an explicit amount of time that I say like, oh, we have to do 5 hours a week or whatever. I don't think it would take more than like there'll be like things that I'll say like, hey, like these people are tabling right now. Let's go and, you know, if you want, feel free to come and talk to students and be what I've done is I've been around these tables and I've talked to students and given them information on MLMs. That's some part of it, but that's not something you have to do. A part of it, I think it's really dependent on what the work is of the time. So for example, tomorrow I'm having that meeting at 1:30 and that's something that's relatively not flexible, right? But it's voluntary. And what I guess like the minimum commitment that I would ask for this is like, maybe like half an hour to an hour, you know, like around of like your thoughtfulness, I guess. So it doesn't have to be a meeting, but just like to think about this whole thing and give suggestions and help me with direction and guidance on what you think, how I should go about this. So like basically with this working group, I think it would be great as like a partially like a first, I guess like a frontline kind of advisory council for me. So I would say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with right now. This is what I'm suggesting and do. And the people that would be elected to the working group would be the main people who'd be interested in helping devise strategy and giving me advice on how to work through this. Because this is a very much so a dynamic thing that's going on. I don't know what the future holds, right? But I don't see like the minimum commitment being more than like an hour, and I would just ask for your thoughtfulness mainly. That's the main value that I would seek out of this. I hope that makes sense. Because I'm also like me talking right now is I'm also exploring my mental process on this and what I think, but it's not, I don't have anything that's very you know, set in stone right now. That's why I'm bringing it to you guys as well. Does it sound good, Alan? Okay, go for it. You list, yeah.
Yeah, sure. I accept the nomination.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sorry also that there's a lot of things that you have to deal with and time commitments, yeah. But thank you for, despite all that, wanting to help with this. Priyanka, do you accept your nomination? Okay, Priyanka says list, yes, great. And Duke on, is this something that I'm just asking, is this something you're interested in or you want like more time to think about?
I would say right now, everything is fine so far. So yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm going to amend the motion and just add in be it further resolved to appoint so I'm gonna say Ellen, Priyanka, and Duke on, what's your last name? Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so I just amending, the motion will read the same. The only thing I'm adding is this, amending this last part. So I move to amend the motion to this, and yeah, I need a seconder. It'll be this plus like everything else, by the way. I can just repost the same thing if that's confusing, but just try to make this as fast as possible. I need a seconder for, so be it further resolved. Okay, Hell sign seconds, great. So we're appointing Alan, Priyanka, and Duke on. Seeking unanimous consent. I'll give a bit of time on that. Okay, great. I think that passes. Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for this. So I'm looking at the rest right now. There's like the vice chair election, which I'm not opposed to doing right now, but I think people are tired. So I'm going to, depending on what you guys think, I'm going to move to like postpone. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because we haven't exactly. Oh, postpone the meeting time. Sure. If Alan, if you're okay with that, are you guys okay with doing the vice chair election? At the very least, I want to do like the very last discussion item I just added as a debrief of the last council meeting, because I think it's time sensitive and people have feelings for what happened. So yeah.
How long do you want to extend to? How long do you want to extend to?
Alan says he's okay with like, I think what you're saying there, correct me if my interpretation's right. Sorry, postpone the meeting time, so extending the meeting time because we haven't had a meeting in a long time. Yeah, okay, says plus. Priyanka and Duke on and Arthur, are you okay with like extending to like, let's say 2:10, 2:15, a max? Like I don't think if it goes beyond that, I'm just gonna end it. Like 2:15 will be a hard cap.
2:15, okay.
Yeah.
2:15, okay.
2:15 will be a hard cap. Like if it goes beyond that, doesn't matter what we don't get through. We're just gonna, yeah. So I moved to extend to 2:15. I need a seconder on this. I'm gonna plug in my computer now. Sorry, also, but I need a seconder. Like,
Health science will second.
okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, health science seconds, great. Okay, seeking unanimous consent.
I got you.
Okay, thank you so much. I need to make sure my computer doesn't die. It's my lifeline. Okay, great. We extend to 2:15 is hard cap. If it goes beyond that, we're not going to continue. Okay. So motion, vice chair election, be it resolved to elect a member of the University and Academic Affairs Committee as a vice chair based on majority vote. So for this one, I'm going to say that vice chair, I would like to have a weekly meeting with them to discuss strategy, priorities, what's happening in UAAC, debrief, and help me drafting with agenda. Another thing I would ask for them to help me with is helping with meeting minutes approval. So like going through the meeting minutes and just making sure that things aren't like missed and it's accurate to what happened. But that's, and then chairing if I can't chair, and convening the meeting. So it is, there is a responsibility there, but there's also, it's quite rewarding work because you'll be working very closely with me and you'll end up having like good insight and be really in the middle of like all the things that are developing in terms of university and academic affairs. And since we're really getting started and really getting momentum going on just, for example, just like the one with the MLM stuff, like I think that it will be fun. I know like I feel tired and I think we all feel tired. So it's a lot to ask, right? But vice chair is rewarding. It does end up helping you in the future if you're articulating your job experience or life experience. And I'm just looking for someone who is passionate about this, right? So that's basically the part of it, and whoever's passionate and can make the time for it. And if you're already like interested in really helping with UAAC and being an active member, being a vice chair is not much more of a commitment besides what you would already be putting in. And I've talked before Arthur became acting VP equity, like I've talked with him and Alan, just because I knew they're like both really interested in UAA, and suggested that like we can have a conversation about you know, who would have more time and who would be better suited for it, you know, and then bring it to committee and stuff. But I really want to open this up generally and just have a bit of a like an open conversation here. So we don't, again, like if you need time to think about it, we don't have to elect it today. But this has been something I've been considering, and since like I have like been sick in the past and I have needed to postpone because I wasn't able to chair, having a vice chair is pretty important because it would allow the meetings to continue moving forward, regardless if I can chair it or not. So that's what, I guess that's the situation I'm in and the reason I'm asking it now. But I also I didn't do it in the very beginning because I wanted to have a few meetings before we got to the vice chair election. So yeah, if anyone wants the list, go for it. Just to give your discussion or thoughts on it, or if you have any questions on what the commitment would be. And yeah. So again, like, I'm okay postponing this, but here's my thoughts here. So I originally was thinking like, and again, like, I don't want to exclude anyone, because like, I'm actually like open, because I know now like vice chair, I think in terms of policy would go to like a council, people holding a member position as a council member. I don't know. I don't think I can go to student at large or member at large. But before Arthur was acting VP equity, like I talked to him and he was interested in it, and I also talked to Alan, and Alan indicated interest as well. But since Arthur is now acting VP equity, like I think
okay, here's my 2 cents
Yeah.
right now. So at least until we sort out what's gonna happen to my position, thank you for my language here. I'm gonna refrain holding a vice chair position in this committee, because I'm not exactly sure if I have capacity to run the fourth one, but if I do get reelected. Now, if the case was different, where we go through the election and I didn't get a position, when I go back to being a counselor, then that would be different. And which means I can go back to helping her run the community and participate in equity, sustainability, and accessibility, which I'm already committed to. Whereas right now, at this stand, I'm having to run between accessibility committee, BIPOC, and equity and sustainability. It already kind of like loading. I'm loaded already.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I can't do it, but it's just that for the sake of my position, and as well as the current situation, I'm not gonna run for it.
Yeah. And I think like as a response to that, Arthur, I think that's reasonable. Especially since like, I think like any acting VP position puts a lot of question on in terms of like your.
Yeah,
It just
for the
makes-
next couple of
makes it
weeks, I'm
too
not gonna be able
confusing.
to run for pushing UAP for a while, because I'll be busy doing campaigning. So with that said, we're just gonna, I would say, especially if somebody else do it,
Mhm.
and then at least until we can figure out what's gonna happen to my position. If at a time of after this position, and by the time someone was like, okay, you know what? I don't have a capacity to be vice chair, I'm happy to take over.
Mhm.
But for now, especially have somebody else take a step of this, and
Yeah.
then until we figure out what's happening.
Yeah, thank you. I'll direct response to that. So I think that that's a good proposal that Arthur just brought up. So Arthur said that, you know, in this circumstance that he you know, does not get like the full, you know, like VP equity position when he runs, or even if you are like get it like, and somebody else doesn't have the capacity, you might still be interested in being vice chair, right? So because that does a lot of execs do that, right? So yeah, so there is the option to like test it out as vice chair, and then see later on if it's too much of a commitment or too much capacity, Arthur can take over, right? That's
There's that thing, there's that option, so.
Yeah, there's that
We-
option.
There's that plan, if that's would work come to work, and if we need somebody to do the committee for this, then again, I'm open to it, but I'm not exactly like, I don't want to say too comfortable with the idea, but I would say I'm open to the idea of doing it, because at this point in time, I'm unsure what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, because well,
Campaigning is the, in my experience, the hardest time.
Yep.
So,
with that said, I am also thinking if people don't feel comfortable doing it right now, that's perfectly okay. We can always postpone it and have to figure out the situation, have a better clarity of what's going on.
yeah,
However, Nikki does said that still we can get it figured out better.
yeah, because like the thing is too, just for, even if you're just considering like if I'm sick and I need the committee to keep doing its business, it won't be able to be run if there's no vice chair. So just for the sake of that, like it's important, just because we're getting our work done and we're getting our momentum going and we're working on these important initiatives now, right? So I want to make sure that we're continuing to do our work. So I don't know, I'll ask, I know like Alan, you're probably thinking about it, but you're probably also, I don't want to like, you can let me know, but it's probably like a lot too, considering your current workload. So I get that. If it gives you any kind of reassurance, like the proposal that Arthur brought up can help, but yeah, go for it. You listed.
Yeah, I mean, I would nominate myself, but I have no intention of taking a temporary position. It would have to be long-term so I can actually plan with it.
Yeah, that's actually preferred. If you're willing to take a long-term, and Arthur gives a thumbs up to that, I think a long-term position would be better because it does enable more continuity and planning for the future and stuff.
Again, because long-term might be a better solution, because I don't want the community to have like someone take over it and have to get beat up if it doesn't, like, if it's short-term, then it's gonna be a difficult situation to like transition why.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna be a great situation, right? Like if we have to continue switching things like that, and I don't like, I guess like the proposal that Arthur gave too was just in the case of like people being on the fence and wanting an out in case, but I really appreciate Alan that like you're looking into this as a long-term position. If you take it, I prefer that. I think we would all prefer that. So I'm happy to accept your nomination, and if anyone else wants to nominate themselves, I think only like Priyanka will be able to, you know, you're welcome to do so. If you want to do that, but you don't have to, if you don't feel like it. So I'll give like a bit of time just to, if you want to nominate yourself, but if not, then our Alan will be uncontested, and then we just have to unanimous consent elect him in. So yeah, I'll just give a bit of time for that. And I'll just rewrite the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, anyone? Last call if you want to do it. Sorry for, I'm tired. Elect.
You're good, thank you.
Okay. Okay. I'm just trying to sorry, I'm just writing the new. So be it resolved to elect Alan Ropke as the vice chair of the University and Academic Affairs Committee based on okay, I'm just gonna, this is the amended motion. So I will move this motion, looking for a seconder.
I'll move it.
Or you second it?
I'm seconding.
Okay.
I'm seconding.
Arthur seconds this motion, seeking unanimous consent to elect Alan as vice chair. Okay, great. Congratulations, Alan. Thank you so much for taking this on. Sorry to sound not enthusiastic or low, I'm low energy, but I am very enthusiastic. So thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Alan, and keep in touch with you. All right, yay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm glad we got this done. This gives me a lot of security that we'll be able to get our work done. And yeah, so now we're on discussion. So I'm just gonna like go through them very quickly. University and academic affairs priorities. We'll discuss that in the strategic planning working group and then bring that to the committee. So that's my suggestion on that. Moving on from that, if you want to list, do it, raise your hand, do it if you want to say something, but I'm just going to move through these bullet speed unless anyone wants to say anything. So 8.2 student outreach and tabling. I wanted to ask if anyone would be willing to table and do student outreach, like what do you call like clipboard like kind of stuff, like we can do like random selection. My thinking was we can do random selection of students you know, that are on campus and just ask them different questions that we have regarding outreach. So do you care about this issue? Like what's your take on this, and then we can use that as a student response, and that will be more randomly selected and more unbiased compared to like a like social media polling. I think it'll, in conjunction, it can really help. So that's something I want to do. I'll reach out to you guys about that, but I'm going to ask for people to help me just walk around campus and do tabling for UAAC for outreach. Hopefully that sounds good. Student union building operating hours and potential 24/7 extension. This has been something I've been actually looking into because I actually started with the president of SFU Surge asking me, for assistance on an event that they want to do. So they want to have, I think it will be the biggest hackathon in Vancouver and the Lower Mainland in general. And hackathons are a big deal, especially like when you're considering the realm of like computer science and software systems. Outside of that, people don't necessarily know what a hackathon is all the time, but hackathons are a big deal. And they're hoping to have a 24-hour hackathon. However, they are not able to do it through the university, but booking a space, because the only suitable space for them.
Go to overtime, base overtime.
It would, right? So that's something that I'm just helping guide on them, right? Because it's not necessarily my direct portfolio, right? So I just like assisted, but they're just like they proposed like to go to like the university and book like the gym, but there's the basketball tournaments happening at that time, and they want to have it during the reading week or reading break of the spring 2023 semester. So it'll be like in around, I think, February and during our terms. So they came to, and they are hoping to have it in the ballroom in the sub, but there is a issue in terms of operating hours where they can't necessarily just have the sub open 24/7 or 24 hours. And it's a problem, I think, in terms of that. And the part where I come in is that students are complaining about the sub not being open 24/7. Whereas
okay, I'm gonna give you some context with that. I've been talking with Judith about this,
Yeah.
which is the
Sorry,
24/7 issue. I'm gonna give some context with it. Right now, it's not my direct portfolio. However, I do get some context. So here's the context here. Right now, what's preventing the sub from operating 24/7? There are two issues here. One is that insurance. We don't necessarily have insurance for anything that happened in the building. And we had no way to know that if somebody gets hurt during the 24/7 when there's no building staff in the building, like they if our building manager is away, then it's gonna get a heck tons of issue with us to being liable on that. So that's one issue. Another would be that it really depends on staffing, because we don't know how many staff are willing to go to 24/7. In attendant to.
I have an answer to that actually. So basically, thank you, Arthur. Yeah, so on that, like I've had discussions with John and Sindhu, as well as just general like reading through like our collective agreement for our staff as well. And it's mainly a union liability issue. But there's also the insurance issue. So this is something that there is a motive to want to have done to extend it for 24/7, but there's a lot of hoops to go through. And it even comes down to students or organizations or student organizations in general, like clubs that are under the SFSS who want to have events that go past 10 p.m. or even 11 p.m. I think 11 p.m. is the really hard cutoff for staff in the building. And we can't accommodate that as SFSS due to our restrictions. So that's one thing that the part where I come in is that security is also a concern. So I've had conversations with SFU Security as VP University and Academic Affairs as the official designated liaison with the university administration. And they're more than willing to help out with these kinds of initiatives and help out with providing security to the sub, but there are the SFSS has a issues policy regarding the presence of like security and cops, right? So that's a there's a bit of a contention there, and it's not necessarily the easiest thing to go through. And one of the possible and very easy solutions would be that during an event like that, security can be outside and just ready to dispatch easily inside, and they don't actually have to be physically in the sub, but that's another conversation. I just wanted to like bring this up because like this is something I have been looking into, and from my role as a VP UAA, I've had conversations with the university to expedite, you know, and potentially provide solutions, but it's very much so an internal thing now where the SFSS has to work to figure out, okay, are we actually going to work towards this and go through all the hurdles and hoops that we have to jump through for it, and it's really up to everyone else at this point. So 8.4 now, if anyone wants to list also on this one, feel free to do it. But yeah, if anyone wants to, so actually for 8.4, the one I added is just like a debrief of the last council meeting. That was yesterday. So yesterday, Wednesday, October 12th, we met right as council for a regular bi-weekly meeting, and a new counselor right from the FNMISA came and dropped a motion right without notice, right? But you can do that, you can amend it onto the agenda, right? And it sparked a lot of debate and controversy in council yesterday. And I always, as a voluntary thing, I will always do my best to update students on what's happening in council. And one thing that I do is I always will take notes for myself, because it's for me, I have very like severe ADHD, and when I'm doing something, okay, no problem, Arthur. So for me, as somebody with very severe ADHD, if I'm doing something active while I'm in a long meeting where it's very passive, it helps me stay on task and pay attention and consolidate the information that's coming at me. So that's something I do. And then they're my personal notes that I share, and I share them as live updates, right? So that's something I did. And I also gathered a student perspective on what happened. And there is a pretty intense student response that I also want to work on tabling and potentially I guess like, how would you say it, like with the clipboard, like getting random samples of students to get their perspectives on this. That's something I want to do with the UAAC, because students are thinking about, and there's a lot of proposals that have also mirrored what other counselors have said in the meeting, that donations, like people are open to donating, and they think that they really care about truth and reconciliation. And we also as council indicated that we really care about this we care about truth and reconciliation, and supporting Indigenous students and people in the community. And one suggestion was that to bring it as a potential collaborative bursary with the university as a solution. But this is obviously like a very dynamic and thing that's developing right now, and I don't think that we're in a position right now to come up with solutions at this specific point. But I've made a really big effort to reach out to students, and students have indicated from what I have gathered that they would prefer to have a say directly on what's happening and where this money is going, if it's going externally, for example. And that's like, it doesn't, there's a problem too, like people have said like it's mixed on whether it should be in a referendum or something else like that, but there is indication that more student perspective is needed on this. And yeah, I just wanted to bring that forward here. If anyone wants to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. I'll also share my screen of a post that I did for outreach. Let me see, and then we'll adjourn. But if anyone wants to say anything, feel free to do it, because yesterday was really tiring, and I'm actually quite impressed with and happy that you all are here. I was very tired after yesterday, so thank you for being here at this meeting. But right? So this is the title, right? Poll to gather student perspective on controversial issue of perpetual and annual $10,000 donation externally and questions of anti-indigeneity and pro-colonial rhetoric of the SFSS. So here, basically, I have like response. So far I put the poll out last night. And again, these polls aren't perfect, obviously. It's just like to gather a general like feeling of where students are at, and then we do further outreach, right? But we have so far put out yesterday has 231 votes. So 19 responses. So 8.2% indicated that the decision on whether to donate should be decided by council, right? And then 91.8% of respondents, so 212 responded that the decision on whether to donate should be decided directly by vote of the student body via referendum. So there is appetite for it to go to the student body, but that's just, I just want to get a proof of, just to see what's happening there. So yeah, that's all I really want to share with that. But if anyone has anything to, Alan, go for it. And one thing before that, actually, I'll say is that I'm not necessarily saying we should do a referendum or not. Depends. Referendum would be quite a bit of work. But one thing that I do know, I just want to say too, I don't think it'll be able to happen at this AGM, like like very in a way that's realistic, but there is talks and plans of an SGM later. So it could happen at an SGM if like theoretically, but go for it, Alan. Thank you for being patient.
Yeah, I would rather have a conversation like this with Ishana here, and also as many counselors of UA as possible. And I don't really think this fits into the UAA portfolio. Yes, it is University Academic Affairs, but this is an SFSS issue that is retained to the council. And while it is good you did that outreach, it's not reliable. It's two very guided questions, right? Like we got to be real. So if it was something with 6 to 8 questions, yeah, maybe it'd be more reliable and to a much bigger audience of 200. But like you said, this is a preliminary discussion. But I think it's too early to have this discussion.
Yeah, thank you so much, Alan. Yeah, for sure. Like I really agree with you. I don't think it's a perfect survey. It's 2 questions. There's obviously like ways we can improve that, right? It's just a spark of preliminary discussion, and usually polls are more allow for more engagement on social media and to push the post up higher in terms of when people are sorting through their feed. So it's a good way to get discussion going. And I think that, my job too as UAA is to talk with students about things that are happening and to do that. So definitely that's something that I really want to do. But I do think, like, in what I've said too, is I think it's too early right now to like come up with a solution on it, but I did want to be transparent and bring forward like what I have been like working on in terms of that. So I wanted to bring it forward to just talk with you guys and just open up that potential for dialogue there. But yeah, like I would love to have this here with Ishana, right? I think it's unfortunate that Ishana isn't here right now. But the rest of UA, we should revisit this, and it's too early to make a decision now. But since it happened yesterday, right? It's good to talk about while it's fresh, I think. But if anyone else wants to say anything, they can go for it. But if not, I'll just go last announcement. So, last chance to list. Otherwise, I'll just move on because I want to adjourn. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm tired too, so. Great. So for announcements, okay, and thanks. I see the direct message from Fanny. Thank you. So announcements, so upcoming UAAC meetings. So basically, they're every Thursday. So this is incorrect right now. So the upcoming UAAC meeting, there'll be one next Thursday, or is it incorrect? I might be wrong. I think actually it's not incorrect. So it's Thursday, October 20th. Oh my God, it's already 13th, right? So Thursday, October 20th, Thursday, October 27th, Thursday, November 3rd, and then after that, subsequently, 11:30 to 1:30 p.m. Each Thursday. So my plan with that is that since we haven't met for a while, the first few meetings will be longer, and then eventually quite short, hopefully, once we go through our things. And eventually my plan is too that we may go back to a bi-weekly structure, but the time of the meetings will be like a time that we may table, for example. So that's the provision there. And then upcoming things I'm planning to do, for us to review the issues, policies together, campaigns review, accessible course practices review, social event planning, and extra report review. And then I'm going to move to adjournment. So I want to be resolved to adjourn the meeting at 2:14 p.m. So in time, thank you. So I'm looking for a mover and seconder here. And also, oh yeah, I need to actually, sorry, Fanny said, I need to remind you guys of something before we end. The call for agenda items for the next UAA meeting will be sent, and people need to submit items by Monday, October 17th at 11:59 p.m. So I'll actually send that out too, and I'll copy that. Thanks, Fanny. So be it resolved to adjourn the meeting at, I'll say 2:15 p.m. I move this, looking for a seconder.
Comms.
Thank you. Anyone objects? No? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for this meeting. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you being here. It's a bit longer, it's a bit more intensive, but we got through a lot, and I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with everyone. And make sure to take a break, everyone, okay? Sleep well. It's important. All right. Have a good one, everyone. I'm going to stop recording and yep. Okay. Stop, pause, stop recording.